I've grown my Instagram page to over 130,000 followers in the last 8 months. In this video, I'm going to give you 8 tips on how to grow your Instagram page. Tip number 1 is that shares have the most value. All of my highest viewed reels, which got tens of millions of views, all got really high amounts of shares. Reels where I share resources typically do the best for me, and that's because they get lots of shares. On the other hand, comments and likes aren't that important. Reels where I get a high percentage of comments and likes, they won't necessarily get a lot of views. Whereas on the reels where I get as many shares as likes, usually those reels will end up getting a lot of views. If there are free resources you can share in your niche, I would recommend that you consider making some reels where you share resources. And some examples of reels that can do well with this are reels where you're sharing a list of resources in your niche and you say what the reel does next to it. The hook, 8 YouTube channels for your niche. For example, 8 YouTube channels to learn copywriting. The 8 best fitness YouTubers. In my experience, those are the types of reels that do really well. Just quickly guys, I made a free Framer landing page template. It features the overlapping customer images, the infinite brand slider, a card for video testimonials, cards for regular testimonials, the crossed out pricing, and more. You can find it in the link in the description. Tip number 2 is to look at what's working in your niche. The easiest way to know the type of content that's working right now in your niche on Instagram is simply to look at the reels that are getting lots of views for your competitors. If you create reels based on topics that you come up with yourself, they're probably not going to be very good topics. Whereas if you base your reels off of topics that are doing well on Instagram right now, those are proven topics. And you're going to have a much higher chance of getting good views because you're basing your reels on topics that are proven to be working right now. Something really important to know though is that Instagram trends move really quickly. If you're basing your reels off of topics that went viral more than 2 weeks ago, it's probably not going to work. You need to be basing your reels off of topics that are doing well right now. Tip number 3 is to be really careful to maintain consistency of your content. If you keep trying to go viral with different types of content, some of your reels and posts might actually go viral and you might bring in followers. But the problem is that you will have gotten some of your followers from one type of reel and then the other followers have come from a different type of reel. And what ends up happening is your reels don't get consistently high views. Whereas if you can find a type of reel that consistently does well for you and you keep uploading that type of reel, then all of your followers are coming for that specific type of reel and it results in your reels consistently getting higher amounts of views. So I recommend at the start to try different types of content, but once you find a type of content that works for you, try to maintain that type of style. A good example of this is the account for Lorgy. What Lorgy does is he takes proven topics from Twitter and on Instagram, and then he puts it into his format, which is basically where you have the AI voice and video clips for the footage. Because he's consistent with that type of content and he's basing it on good topics, it results in him getting consistently good views. Tip number 4 is that you should start with reels and then add carousels later. Usually on the new accounts, if you try to post images and carousels straight away, they won't get that many views. Whereas reels usually get pushed out a lot easier on new accounts. So when your account's new and it doesn't have many followers, start with reels. However, carousels are doing really well right now on Instagram. So once you get to about 5,000 followers, I recommend that you start experimenting with carousels, and you should make sure that the carousel starts with a powerful hook. Then the rest of the images in the carousel deliver on the hook. Also, a tip with that is that it often works very well to take your viral reels and then to convert them into carousels. So you take the hook from the reel, the hook is the first image in the carousel, and then the rest of the carousel delivers on the hook. Tip number 5 is to double down on your winners. At first, most of your reels and your posts won't be doing that well, and that's normal. But if you keep uploading content that has a good chance of going viral, some of your reels will go viral eventually. When they do go viral, you should make sure to start uploading more content that is like the content that just went viral for you. Usually you will find that that also gets good views as well. You would only then change the type of content when that viral content stops working for you. It's very common for accounts to be going viral and then they start posting completely different types of content. When you have something that's working for you, you should keep uploading that type of content. Only change it when it stops working. Tip number 6 is to end the reel quickly and to have no unnecessary information in the reel. As I said earlier, shares are really important, but the view duration and the watch percentage also do matter. So you shouldn't include information in the reel if it's not necessary. And once you've delivered on the hook, you should make sure to end the reel straight away. Otherwise, a lot of people will continue to scroll before the reel has finished. You want the reel to finish before they continue to scroll. Tip number 7 is that the hook is extremely important. The hook is the promise that comes at the start of the reel, which tells you what you're about to get in the reel. For example, the hook of my best reel, which got 15.5 million views, replaced a 4-year college degree with these 8 TED Talks. The only situation where you shouldn't have a hook is where the information for the reel is shown on the reel straight away. Otherwise, it's really important that you have a powerful hook. So you should always be on the lookout for viral hooks in your niche, so you know what hooks are currently doing well in your niche. Tip number 8 is to remember that actually it's not about going viral, it's about getting customers for your business. So you need to be careful to only post reels that bring in the right type of people for your business. If you bring in the wrong people, when you do post the right reels for the right people, it can actually make it harder to go viral on the right people because your followers won't be interacting well with that reel. Reels that are well targeted to your customers that have low views are going to outperform high view reels that don't have good targeting. So the first thing to always remember is this reel actually going to bring in the right people?